Today, we have a really interesting video for you. On the screen right now is the Motiv Bowling Compare tool. This is a really unique thing that Motiv hasn't really pushed that much, but I want to showcase, and we actually had a couple viewers want to see this also. So we're going to break down exactly what the Motiv Compare tool does, what it really compares to, and how close it is to other industry standards to compare bowling ball to bowling ball. Remember, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe just in case you haven't already. It helps out a ton. It's the best way to support the channel. Then I can keep making the latest and greatest bowling information videos for you guys. Otherwise, we have a ton of links down in the description if you want merch, if you want to check out other socials or anything like that. But let's get into the main portion of the video. So we have the Motiv Compare tool. First of all, how do you get here? That's the main question. If you go to Motiv's main site, you have EJ and the Jackal EJ, which you can still buy, by the way. Bowler Store actually has a handful. Then if you go over to resources, there's a lot of really cool resources out here. There's an arsenal builder, comparison tool, bowling ball maintenance, factory finish guide, all of that. We're going to focus on the comparison tool today. So what is this? It brings up a page where you have different links to other things, but then you have a drop down of a ton of Motiv bowling balls. And you have two different sides. You can choose whatever weight you want, which actually changes the core inside the ball. This is amazingly helpful for people who don't throw 15 pounds, so you can actually compare your stuff. Very, very cool. We'll play with that in just a second. But otherwise, you have all of these statistics, all of these numbers about a bowling ball. So you have the ball motion, the length, the back end, and the hook, numbers 0 to 100. Most of them are going to be on that upper edge of 100 from what I've seen so far. You have the core stats, a picture of the core, which is pretty cool that you have a picture of the core. And then you have the RG, the differential, the int diff, and the flare potential. The flare potential is a number you don't see that often. This technically highly correlates with the differential and the intermediate differential, so it's a little bit negligible, but good to know if you don't know much about flare and what it is. Then you actually have the cover stock names and what the ball comes out to after out of box, what the surface is. So like the Jackal Onyx is at 1,000 grit out of box, whereas that Sub-Zero 2,000 grit. Really cool on this front. So let's play with the pounds quick. Let's play with the weight. So if we go a 14 pound versus 14 pound, you can actually see the numbers did shift. And you can see on here, it says 14 pound, 14 pound, 14 pound. From what I've seen, there's no issues with this. So you can actually see what, for whatever weight you throw, you can see the core numbers from Motiv bowling balls. This is super helpful. I know 14 pound people out there, that's one of the biggest struggles is a lot of bowling balls change their core drastically between 15 and 14 pounds. And everybody on the internet, me included, focuses on 15 pounds because that's what most people throw. This is a really cool way that you can actually look at weights outside of that 15 pounds. So we'll jump back to 15 quick. Now let's look at a couple of the bowling balls and what the numbers mean. So this one is a very good example to start. The Onyx versus the Forge. These are both the smoothest and earliest bowling balls you can get from Motiv bowling right now. You'll see that length out of the Onyx is 53. Now the Sub-Zero is at 56. This fits pretty well with what we always knew is that the Sub-Zero goes a little bit later than that Jackal Onyx. If you look at the back end, they're actually identical. Kind of interesting. That makes sense. The Sub-Zero is insanely smooth. I thought the Onyx would have a little higher back end in my opinion, but you know, that's a-okay. But then you look at this hook number, like you see, oh, the length and the back end are kind of close. Why is that hook number so high? That is based on the amount of oil that the ball can handle, is what I'm guessing right now. Now, Motiv, if you watch this, let me know in the comments or in my email if I'm incorrect. But what I'm seeing is that the Jackal Onyx can be thrown on more oil and can just overall hook more. Now, hook is very interesting. Length we know, front to back, how early that bowling ball is hooking compared to where you are. The back end is how sharp that bowling ball is going to be when it sees friction. And that hook is usually just a culmination of all of that put together of the length and then the back end. Usually the earlier and the sharper a ball is, the higher that hook would be in my opinion. But this is a little bit different. I think this really showcases that the Sub-Zero Forge is best from straighter and doesn't like insane angle, is really what that hook potential shows. Now, the bottom numbers we're going to ignore. These are just the core and cover numbers that we've talked about plenty on the channel. But let's go find a different comparison. Let's do a Vogue Hysteria and let's do Primal Rage Evolution. This one's kind of interesting. This is an asymmetrical pearl and a symmetrical pearl. Now, if you look at the cover stocks, they do each have propulsion. One has FYJ, one has MXV. So looking at the numbers, we have a 70 out of the Evoke Hysteria and a 72 out of the Primal Rage. Now, this showcases that the Evoke Hysteria is going to hook earlier and be smoother if you look at those back-end numbers than the Primal Rage. However, putting those together, that means the hook is actually more out of the Evoke Hysteria. I'm guessing there's an extra variable thrown into the hook number, which is based on asymmetry versus symmetry. So if we switch over to something that's actually symmetric, I know there's not much in their lineup right now. We'll go the Hyper. Wow, the Hyper is actually down to a 48 hook. That's crazy. Let's do Hyper versus, let's go Max Thrill Pearl. Those should be kind of close. There we go. So we see that the hook number drops drastically, even though this length and back end number is very close to what we are looking at compared to the other bowling balls. So these are actually three fairly independent variables at the end of the day. Very interesting. I'm guessing they have some kind of algorithm to determine what this number will be. Just very interesting what it could be, what it possibly could be. This makes sense though. The Hyper Venom hooks more than the Max Thrill Pearl. The back end is a little less on the Hyper. The length is a little bit less. So that fits perfectly. Now, let's do a weird one here. Let's put the Max Thrill Hybrid. Oh, that one barely jumps up. Okay, that one barely jumps up compared to the rest. There was one very interesting combo I wanted to show off, and that is this. That is this Raptor Rush. This Raptor Rush, for whatever reason, I don't know why I disagree with this number. This is probably the one number after playing around with this for like 30, 40 minutes that I actually disagree with, is the Raptor Rush is length and the back end number. This shows that the Raptor Rush actually hooks later than the Primal Rage and actually has a higher back end, so sharper off the end of the pattern. I don't know about that. I know some people agree with that. Some Motiv guys are like, that Rush is the sharpest thing I've ever thrown. I don't know. This is a little bit bold. But then the Raptor Rush is a lot more hook potential compared to the Primal Rage. That's probably because the Raptor Rush is stronger, so it can handle more volume compared to that Primal Rage. Now, these are some of the odd pieces of it. These are the exact same cover stock, just different core, where the Primal Rage has a higher RG, lower differential. I haven't been able to determine exactly what the mathematical equations are for these, but this is really cool to note. Now, the next coolest thing with this, we have all the stuff in production right now. We have spare balls. We don't care about those. We have retired balls. We don't just have a couple. We have so many retired bowling balls on this list. They have added all the way back to the OG TX1. Absolutely insane that you can go back that far. So let's grab like a, where's a fun one? Let's go, Forza Redline, the good old yellow ball. We can grab the Forza Redline, see the core, see the cover, see everything that there was about this ball when it released back in, when did this ball release? It was a while ago. I don't think they have a date. We're seeing reviews back from 2019. I believe it was before 2019. I'm not seeing a number though. But they actually let you compare old Motiv bowling balls. I know a lot of Motiv fans out there love having the older pieces because a lot of them roll really good. Then being able to compare those to current level bowling balls, like you can compare the United Revolt to the Raptor Rush. Very crazy. You can see, oh man, that Raptor Rush overall hooks more. Makes sense. Now, I'm guessing these numbers that they use aren't equating how old the bowling ball is, and that like wear and tear ends up knocking it out, because the longer a bowling ball has been created, the worse it gets because air gets into the pores and then it ends up killing the cover stock little by little. But that is something here nor there. So it is very, very cool to be able to see every Motiv bowling ball ever made and be able to compare them against each other. That is such a cool tool. If you are a Motiv fan, I highly, highly recommend checking this out. I did check, by the way, to verify, and this does match pretty much everything that we have on our Motiv categorization. So make sure that kind of adds in an extra evidential piece that our guides aren't complete BS, which is good. But I will definitely be using this for the future, for future releases and for comparisons that other people have. There's a lot of really good information here, especially for people who don't throw 15 pounds or have older Motiv equipment. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know. Other companies make tools like this. Why I would love to see a Storm or Brunswick comparison tool like this. Motiv is always on top when it comes to bowling ball knowledge and bowling expertise. They are always the #1 in that way. They have all of these cool resources. They have their amazing ball guide that we always love checking out. They have so many good tools for Motiv bowling balls. I would love to see that from other companies. I really hope to see that in the future. But otherwise, that is going to be the end of today's video. Again, make sure to subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next one.